A notice of deficiency is a written notice by the IRS assessing a tax liability against you. It is sometimes called a statutory notice, stat notice, or 90-day letter. Its effect is no different from a civil lawsuit.
The notice of deficiency is simply written notice by the IRS of its assessment against you of a tax liability. It is sometimes called a stat notice or statutory notice. Since the only option in most cases an appeal to the tax court, it's essentially the start of a civil suit. The statutory notice of deficiency essentially means that the IRS has assessed a tax against you. Usually it's the result of an audit or examination. Sometimes it's the result of a substitute tax return that the IRS has filed because you have not filed a tax return. But the notice contains two key items of information. The first is the date of the notice itself. That date fixes the date in which you must file an appeal to the United States Tax Court. Second, it also fixes the type of tax, the date of the year involved, as well as the amount and penalties. This date or deadline is 90 days from the date of the notice. Hence, this letter is sometimes called the 90-day letter. If you fail to respond, then that means the tax is admitted in full. If you do not file an appeal to the United States Tax Court, then you must pay the tax in full and file a refund suit in federal district court or tax court to get your money back. However, in order to challenge without paying the tax in full, you must appeal to the United States Tax Court. Only an attorney who is admitted to the United States Tax Court can represent you there. There are three exceptions, but even then, those exceptions, you should have appropriate counsel to advise you. The first exception to filing an appeal to the tax court is in the case of a substitute return. In that case, the IRS has filed a tax return for you when you have failed to file. You should still file a return yourself. First, by filing the return, you start the running of the statute of limitations for collections. Second, you may be able to abate penalties if you file. Third, if you file the return and later cannot pay, in certain cases you may be able to file a bankruptcy and get those taxes discharged. If you do not file that tax return, even though the IRS has filed a substitute, you can't get them discharged in bankruptcy. In filing that tax return, you should consult a tax professional. He or she will be sure to make sure that all the 1099s and W-2s are correctly reported in that tax return. The second exception to filing an appeal is when you agree or have no basis to challenge the notice of deficiency. Frankly, in 35 years of practice, I've only encountered two cases where we declined to file an appeal. Almost every case there are errors, factual differences, or other issues that demand an appeal. The third exception to filing an appeal to the United States Tax Court is a refund suit. That's when you disagree with the IRS, you can afford to pay in full, and you want a jury trial. To do that, you pay it in full, you file a refund claim with the IRS, you wait 6 months until the IRS denies it, whichever is sooner, then you file suit, normally in the federal district court where you live. A refund suit is expensive, time-consuming, and usually demands counsel. Can you represent yourself? Sure you can, but you should not. In my 35 years of practice, I've represented several attorneys who started and tried for themselves, but then came to us for help. A tax appeal is a complicated, difficult process and high risk. Again, only a tax attorney can represent you before the tax court. It never fails. Almost every year I have one or two taxpayers that I've got to give very bad news to. They missed their one and only one opportunity to challenge their tax liability without paying it in full. They failed to file an appeal with the United States Tax Court. Do not ignore a notice of deficiency. Contact us. We can help. I'm admitted to the United States Tax Court. Contact us at www.britanda.com. If not us, contact some qualified tax professional who is admitted to the United States Tax Court. You need to appeal this notice.
A notice of deficiency is your best opportunity to challenge the IRS assessment of tax without paying. Do not lose this valuable right by neglect. Contact a qualified professional for help.